Welcome to Standards Training. Before we get started, I highly recommend that you go to the Coherence app and do a peak performance vortex to get prepared for the generational lock-in that is about to take place. I'm glad that you're here. I'm so grateful to be here. Let's get into it. So these are the standards, all right? It's pretty self-explanatory. All of this is supposed to be super simple. Shouldn't have to think much about anything. This is what we're training for. We have 5 categories: health, cardio, calisthenic, strength, and power. Each category has 4 events, and each event is scored up to 5 points out of 100%. So the goal, this is your goal. This is your training goal prescribed by the ideal. My current score, there you go, 36% out of 100. After 14 years of training, so it's going to take some time. And that's the point. You know, this is supposed to be the evolution of bodybuilding, powerlifting, fitness sports. The competition is against yourself. So, yeah, it's important to increase your score on the standards, I think is a good goal. But there's no rush. Um, and everything needs to be done with perfect form, complete integrity, and and honesty. I asked God for the perfect goal to train for, and this is what I got. It's based on a lot of stuff, based on kind of CrossFit. Obviously, it's got power lifting influence. This is pretty much powerlifting right here, except we have the row and then the vertical movement patterns included here. It's got weightlifting elements. It's got triathlon elements, definitely heavily inspired by special operations training. So this is inspired by the program I did when I was training for BUD/S, the NSW Physical Training Guide, and the standards that they set have a huge influence on all this. Like to get in the program, you have to be able to do a 1.5 mile run, 9 minutes, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 20 pull-ups, 500-meter swim in like 9 minutes. And I thought that was like the most fun thing to train for and the most effective because, yeah, this is about optimal human development. Got some gymnastics and overall health. So like bodybuilding is kind of in here too. We want to have good body fat, but we also want to have a good resting heart rate, good max heart rate, balanced posture. If we have imbalances, we don't want to be pushing our maximal strength. We want to be focusing on fixing the imbalances, building from the ground up. Hope you're with me. So this is GPS coordinates. It's not like you're gonna go into the gym and like max out on this every day. Some people know that. Some people do max out in the gym for their like training program, and that's I don't think super effective. So this is the GPS coordinates of where we're going. It's just how we're informing our training program. So let's look at the training program. The overall structure of the training program is the NASM OPT model. We have 5 phases: stabilization endurance, strength endurance, muscular development, maximal strength, and power. These phases actually align with popular fitness sports. muscular development. This is bodybuilding. This is hypertrophy. Maximal strength is powerlifting, essentially. Power is weightlifting, CrossFit, athletic training. So you probably know these phases as their their fitness sport name. And then strength endurance, probably not as popular. Same with stabilization endurance. These are more foundational phases that probably not a lot of pros are doing. This could be correlated with like athletic training group, knees over toes guys programs. He's got like knee ability zero. And so athletic training group, ATG, was definitely a huge influence on this. I used their app. I went through their certification programs. And then I realized what it was, and it was joint protocol, which is a part of this program. Every joint has objective movement patterns that it can do. And that's how you heal injuries by training those small movement patterns, those joint movements. So that's what stabilization endurance is. And even if you are an advanced athlete, you probably do a phase like this. And if you don't, you probably would benefit from it. Strength endurance is similar to stabilization endurance, a step between the the very baseline training and then more intense training. And I just feel like this is associated with the the special operations training. Um, so like in my mind, each of these phases has has a program that aligns with it. Maximal strength is based on the Juggernaut method, which is a popular program that you can look at the PDF for in the app. That this phases takes their the Juggernaut method, their linear periodization, and applies it to the main strength movements in this phase. But then we also have the zone 4 cardio going on, and everything that we're working on towards the standards is incorporated in this program. So it's not just the Juggernaut method as written. It takes the periodization of the main strength movements, and that's what we apply to the strength movements. But it correlates pretty much directly with this phase. And then with muscular development, think of Renaissance periodization, volume landmarks, bodybuilding training, hypertrophy, push-pull legs, except we're not doing push-pull legs, but that that's the goal here is bodybuilding. And phase 5 is pretty much CrossFit Olympic weightlifting. We're using the Chinese Olympic weightlifting program for our power movements. And then we'll do for our strength movements will be like the 5-3-1 method. And then we'll also have muscular development worked into there. So as we go through each phase, we'll keep some elements of the previous phase. Because when we're doing maximal strength, we're not going to be training everything with the Juggernaut method. There'll be sections. So let's look at how the workouts are structured. So the beginner program is what we're talking about right now. There is an advanced program that requires twice a day training. But that is super intense. So we're going to start with the beginner workouts. We've got full body 3 times per week. And we've got cardio 3 times per week. So the way our anaerobic workouts are structured, we'll have the warm up and the cool down before every session. And then we'll get into activation. And activation is always going to be phase 1 targets. Always going to be the 4-2-1-1 tempo, 12 to 20 reps, 1 to 2 sets for activation because we're just getting the body ready. Core, here you're going to have options and with all of these exercises, there's a bunch of options for you to choose from. You don't have to do exactly these exercises. There's specific substitutes for each exercise in each section that if you want to try something else or you don't have that available or you can't do an LSAT, for example, there's a bunch of other substitutes that are logical to choose from in that place. So for the core section, I'm putting gymnastic movements in there as the main movement because LSAT and handstand are standards events, but they align with core flexion, core lateral flexion, and rotation, and core extension. So during these core sections, you can choose pretty much any core exercise, but why not work on the gymnastics? Okay, then we've got plyometric, and this is gonna get more intense as the phase goes. This is kind of a simple look at the program. Um, I have this very detailed PDF that will be available for you to look at also. Um, so you can see in phase one, our plyometrics are going to be pogo jumps and snap downs, super basic, low impact, form building plyometrics. And the plyometrics will have their own progression for each phase. So this is this gets like a little bit more detailed, but the cool thing is it's all laid out in the app. All you have to do is press start workout and you just do what it tells you, and it's all this program laid out in there. So plyometric will go from low impact, like pogo jumps and snap downs in phase one, to higher intensity and impact, like depth jumps, broad jumps, box jumps, lateral jumps, weighted jumps, as intense as it gets in phase five. And that'll have its own progression also. For conditioning, we're doing this in every session. I have it as a slope bike, burpee, sprint for the three workouts. You could change that also. You could do sprint twice a week. That's probably a good idea. But in phase one, we're going to keep everything lower impact, ideally. And these will have their own progressions too. So in phase one, we'll do 25 seconds to 45 seconds for 2 to 3 sets at 6 to 8 RPE. And then we move on to power. So in the power section, we're always going to have some variation of clean and jerk and snatch. In phase one, we're going to do kettlebell, clean and jerks, and snatch. That's like I think the lowest breakdown of those movement patterns. I'm doing phase one right now. I'm personally doing the hang power version of each of those movement patterns because it doesn't require the full squat and you can do it. I'm doing it to get really good at the form. But if you've never done Olympic lifts before, I recommend starting with the kettlebell movements because I think it's much simpler to do without having to coordinate both your hands together. But we work up from kettlebell versions to we go through every every breakdown of the Olympic lifts throughout the program. Phase three, we're doing hang cleans, power cleans, snap, and we work in some regular. I think this is the first phase where we get the full movement pattern in there, because I feel like doing higher reps, like the 8 to 10 rep range, which we're doing in the earlier phases, probably is pretty hardcore on the body to do high reps with the full squat. So I think that's a good idea to do the kettlebell and power versions in the earlier phases where there's higher rep ranges. So that's the power section. And then the last section of the anaerobic workouts is going to be, this will be the main section. of the workout. So if you only can do 1 hour training in a day, this is what you'll do. Do the warm up, do this. This is what's going to have the most effect. But even if that's the case for you, definitely try to work some of these other sections in, maybe on the cardio days, or just like rotate through what you do, vary what you do in the program. Ideally, you'll do all of it. Ideally, you do the advanced program, but we're aligning with the ideal. That's what this is. So our primary section is going to be standard movements, bilateral, like barbell movements on the first day, unilateral, single arm, single leg movements on the second day, and calisthenic on the third day. So we're doing the same movement patterns 3 times per week, but we're varying how we do those. We're going to do barbell movements, then we're going to do unilateral movements, and then we're going to do calisthenic movements. And I think that's the best way to make progress towards the standards, where we need to have high strength and high body weight ability. So these sections, also kind of get more detailed per phase. So first phase is straight up what we saw in the spreadsheet, and it just follows this progression for the stabilization endurance section. In strength endurance, we add supersets in here, and we're supersetting the standard movement pattern with an unstable movement pattern. So on day 1, we've got squat and Bosu squat and horizontal push and Bosu push up. And then we have the rest. So this first movement pattern is going to be done at the phase 2 targets in the 8 to 12 rep range, 2010 tempo, 7 to 9 RPE. And then what it's supersetted with, that's going to be doing the targets for stabilization endurance still. So this is what's highlighted is following the stabilization endurance pattern. So you're doing 12 to 20 reps, 6 to 8 RPE, and 4 to 1 tempo. That's like the bridge factor in strength endurance. That's kind of the main thing there, is you're doing the supersets with the unstable variation. So on the second day, we've got we're supersetting standard movements with single leg and arm movements. That should be SA for the verticals. And then on the third day, we're doing calisthenics. So we'll do a hip thrust and a windmill, and then we'll do a horizontal pull and an inverted row. And then we mirror our calisthenics on the third day, single arm, unilateral, second day, standard, first day. And this section will just be following the phase 2 targets. So the 2 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps, 7 to 9 RPE, and 2010 tempo. And this is because originally I was like, we should superset everything every day, but then that would make everything twice as long or longer. So we're only going to superset a couple of things per session in strength endurance, and we'll do the rest without supersets. And so I think this is probably a good setup, but you could definitely like switch it up. So you do the hinge and a Bosu hinge, or you could move, I don't know how you'd do like a Bosu row, but you could like, I don't know, hold on to bands or something. This is just my idea for the supersets. You could get creative with what you're supersetting that is making it unstable. A lot of ways to go about that. That's the main aspect of phase 2. Okay, so then we go to phase three, and our workouts are back to just straight up one section following the muscular development targets 2 to 5 plus sets, 6 to 15 reps, 3-0-1-0 tempo. Um, and the other sections staying relatively the same. Our power sections getting more complex. And in phase three, we've got 2 mesocycles of 6 weeks. And then for phase four, now we get into where we're using the juggernaut method. So in phase four, we have our main primary movement pattern is broken up into 2 sections. We've got maximal strength, which is the phase that we're on, and we've got a muscular development section, which was the previous phase. So maximal strength is going to follow the juggernaut method. Um, these 2 to 3 exercises each day are going to follow the juggernaut method. And there's 4 mesocycles in this phase. So we got the tens wave, mesocycle 1, the eights wave, the fives wave, and the threes wave. And that's our strength, our maximal strength section. And you can look deeper into this if you want to, but like I said, it's all in the app, so you don't have to think that much about it. I'm just explaining it. You'll just go in there and do what it tells you to do. And then we've got our muscular development section, and this is going to follow the exact same pattern that it followed in the previous phase, just tacked on after maximal strength. Because if we did this for every exercise, the juggernaut method, that would be extremely taxing, similar to why we split it up in strength endurance. And yeah, so we got a little bit of phase three and a little bit of phase four in here. But this is the primary phase focus right here. And then the last phase, phase five, power. Now we've got, so power in the first 4 phases was not the main focus, but now it's the main focus. So we've got 3 sections here. This is following the power progression, which in the previous phases has been like super basic, like 2 to 3 sets of, it works down from 8 to 10 to like 4 to 6 reps in the first 2 phases, and then it's like 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps in the third phase. I don't remember what it is in the fourth phase. 3 to 7 sets of 1 to 2 reps in the fourth phase. And that's actually pretty similar to what we're doing here in phase five. So our power movements, which will be snatch and clean and jerk for the most part, we've got some power in there also um, to spare the glutes or the whole body, mind, honestly. Um, so for those, we're going to be doing 7 sets of 1 to 2 reps at 8, 9, and 10 RPE. And then for maximal strength, this is going to be following not the juggernaut method now, but it's going to be following the 5-3-1 method. And then our muscular development section is going to be following the same muscular development pattern. That's pretty much like the volume landmarks, RP style. So for maximal strength in phase five, instead of just doing straight movement patterns here, trying to incorporate some weightlifting movements. So we got the clean or snatch pull in there, we got jerk dips in there, we got front squats in there, just to be more goal specific in this phase. So that is the workouts and the workout progression, and this is a simpler model on the spreadsheet of the progression. But we didn't go over cardio, so let's go over cardio. So we've got that on days 2, 4, 6, run, bike, and swim. And we're doing this warm up for anaerobic and aerobic sessions. But on aerobic days, once we get beyond like the beginning of the zone one sessions, we're gonna have specific cardio warm-ups too. So once we get to zone three cardio, we're gonna do some zone two cardio to warm up for that. And this is all done for you in the app, so you just have to do what it says. It'll say do do whatever type of cardio you're doing today for this long at this heart rate, and it'll tell you exactly how you need to warm up for the cardio. Because let's take a look at the cardio progression. It's in the spreadsheet, but it's better in here. So phase one cardio, can look at, we're just doing zone one cardio in phase one. So week one, 20 minutes up to 60 minutes in week five, and we're going from 50% heart rate to 60% heart rate. So this is 110 beats per minute to about 130 beats per minute, and that's all programmed into the app. So just do it. And it's based off of the 220 maximum heart rate, which is the standard tier one achievement. So we're just going to base it off that. And because zone one cardio at 110 beats per minute, I think no matter who you are, is pretty easy. But once we get up to the, so let's walk through it real quick. Phase two, now we're going from 25 to 45 minutes at 60 to 70% heart rate. That's about 130 to 150 beats per minute. Probably still pretty easy. And this is all form development. Phase one and two is form development on cardio and breathing development. Because a huge part of all of this also is the breath work, the habits, and the nutrition. But mainly, this is the standard training program. But all that other stuff is super important too. But breathing and form for cardio, phase one and two. Pretty much the same for phase three, doing 25 to 45 minutes still. Now we're doing 70 to 80% heart rate. So that's 150 to 170 beats per minute. That's probably getting a little bit harder. And some might say you shouldn't do cardio if you're trying to build muscle, but I think that's a pussy ass excuse. Do both and do them both really well. So we're doing that in phase two for both mesocycles, or phase three for both mesocycles. Now we get to phase four, and we're doing 25 to 30 minutes. And now we're doing intervals, 3 to 5 minute intervals in zone four at 80 to 85% max heart rate in the first mesocycle, and that works up to 90% max heart rate at the end. Now this is probably getting really hard because this is what, 170 to 190 beats per minute, which is like probably more than the average person's actual max heart rate that they can just like get up to on command. I don't know what mine really is. Like the most I've like checked it at is like 180, which is not great. That's a 1 point on the standards. I mean, that's my overall score in the program, so makes sense. Um, okay, where were we? Looking at cardio. So that's what we're doing in phase four. So we got 3 to 5 minute intervals, 80 to 85% heart rate in meso one. And then we're going 2 to 4 minute intervals in meso two, and taking rest breaks in zone one to two for 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes in phase meso one. And our heart rate's increasing by 2.5% this meso three, 1 to 3 minutes in zone four, 2 to 3 minutes in zone one to two. And our heart rate's getting up to the top range. And then last mesocycle, we got 30 to 90-second intervals, 2 to 4 minute rest, 85 to 90% max heart rate. And then lastly is phase five. Now we got 10 to 30-second intervals at zone five, 90 to 95% heart rate in meso one, and 5 to 10-second intervals at 95 to 100% max heart rate. with 2 to 3 minute rest. That's the cardio setup. So 3 times a week at zone one seems easy at first, but it gets up to as intense as it can get. Um, and this is kind of based on the NSW physical training guide, but like differently because they have you doing like zone 1 to 3 once a week, zone four intervals, long intervals once a week, and then zone five short intervals once a week. But that's a 26-week training program to get ready to go to Buds. And this is not that. This is we have more time. Um, and that's for people who are already in really good shape, probably. Like they're athletes coming out of high school. This is for everybody, including people who are like even like really good bodybuilders. This would probably change their life to become like totally athletic. And something I forgot to mention in the power section of all of these phases. So if you like on the app, I said there's substitutes for everything. These substitutes also include like medicine ball throws, which is something that I haven't gotten super into, but I've done some of. And so that's you could always do one weight lift and one throw, or you could do two throws. But this is the whole athletic training ordeal. So throwing is welcome and incorporated in here. Um, so that's the program, and so the standards is the goal. The standard training program is a plan to get to the goal. So this is all in EverFit. Um, okay, I told you that it was going to be simple and you weren't going to have to think much about any of this. Let's check out how that is possible. So everything that I just showed you is programmed onto this app, that whole program. This is what it looks like. I'm currently on day 3. This is what the app looks like. It'll look a little bit different on day 1. There will be a standards assessment workout to fill out, and there'll be 7 tasks or 6 tasks to do. Let's look at the announcement at the top. So welcome to the club. So stoked you are here. Your objectives are clear. First win, completing all the tasks. So standards assessment, body composition, which will come up 3 times a week, progress photo, which will come up once a week, and then training, nutrition, and habit setup, which will only come up once, and joining the community, which will only come up once. Huge resources to immerse in, the community forum, on-demand resources, and DMing me on this app or booking a call. So let's take a look at the tasks that are there on the first day. So body composition, progress photo, those are simple. Progress photo, do one on the front, sides, and back. And then for training setup, we're going to go to on-demand programs, and we're going to select a program. For nutrition, habits, we're going to do the same thing. We don't really need to select a program for nutrition, habits. Nutrition, we're going to set up our macros and calories, plug them into this app, and whatever tracking app. For habits, it's just showing you where to go access the routines and how to check off your habits. So we'll look into all of these deeper. So let's go to check out training first. Well, let's look at the standards assessment. So on the first day, you'll have the standards assessment workout, which you can either just fill out with your like latest, most reasonable conservative estimate of what you can do, or if you don't know, you can leave stuff blank, or you can go test all of this. If you decide to test it, I recommend doing like one event from each category per day and doing warm-ups and cool-downs. But yeah, you don't need to. If you have a good idea of where you stand on here, then testing everything is not really going to help you out much. It's the training that is. Testing is just how we make sure that we're getting better. So just go in, fill it out as best you can, submit it, and I will make you one of the scorecards that I showed you that I have on my computer. And so that's the first thing to do on the app is that standards assessment. And then let's go look at the other tasks. So training setup, nutrition setup, habit setup, join community. So let's look at how we set up training. So we're going to go to on demand. We're going to scroll down to on demand programs, and this is each phase of the program. I'm currently on phase 1, day 3, but you're just going to go into program, press start program, and it'll start populating on your timeline. So the workouts are exactly what I showed you earlier on the computer. For cardio, we've got the warm up, the cardio, the cool down, and it'll say how long you have to go for and at what heart rate. And if there's intervals, it'll be broken up into intervals. For anaerobic training, we've got each of the sections: warm up, activation, core, plyometric, conditioning, power, strength. And you can see that the sets, reps, and RPE are all programmed in there. All you have to do is find the appropriate weight, and there's specific instructions inside there also of what to do. You can substitute exercises that are like in alignment. They're already chosen for you what you can substitute. Um, yeah, and then you just follow this through. It progresses with the same progression I showed you. So that's training. So you just subscribe to the program once you're ready. If you want to test the standards, or if you want to like do some of the routines, or if you, whenever you press start on that program, it'll be on your timeline, and you can pause it whenever and resume it whenever. But yeah, get after it. Okay, I just needed to pop in here real quick. I was watching that back and I realized I didn't show you what it actually looks like inside the workout, and we get to it later in routines, but this is like a common confusion. I don't want you to think this is what the workout looks like. No, no, no. You got to start the workout. And if you're just looking at the workouts in the on-demand program, you can't start them for there unless the one for today is up. So once it populates on your timeline, you can start it. So you start the workout, you start the section, and then you go through, check these boxes off, press done. You got to check everything off that you want to get credit for, and then you press done. Okay, and then you do that for each section. You go in there, you can select your weight. It'll recommend weight if it has a recommendation for you. But let's look at like, okay, so for like conditioning, for example, for a soap bike, you're going to track your calories and how many calories you get in that time. And if you want to do a different type of conditioning, um, you're probably going to actually have to replace the whole exercise if it only if it has different metrics being tracked. Because if the metrics are different, then it doesn't update them unless you replace the whole exercise, which is annoying. So say I got 10 burpees, 25 seconds, press mark all, or I mark off one at a time, which you actually should do if you're in the workout. So you mark off one, you wait the rest timer, and then when it's done, you mark off the next one, and then you're done. And then, okay, so here you're looking for the weight, and if you change the exercise, it'll change its recommended weight for you. And then we get to our main section, and this is the stabilization endurance section. So now we're doing 12 to 14 reps, 4-2-1-1 tempo. This is the main section. So you enter your weight that you did, check it off, wait the rest timer. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you know that you have to go in here, enter your weight for everything, mark off the sets, and then when you finish everything, including the cool down, you swipe to complete the workout. Takes a second. Tells you how many animals you lifted or like something like that. And then you rate the workout, and that's it. Okay, back to it. For nutrition. Let's stick to training for a little bit more longer. In training, you can come into this resources with the Cherubim, and you can look at the program that I showed you on the computer, or you can look at the spreadsheet that I showed you on the computer, and you can see the leaderboard and everyone that's on it, or just look at the standards. You can update your standards progress, and you can also look at the research for the training program. So like I said, um, each phase of the program kind of aligns with one of these high level programs. And these are them. So you can go look at the the research behind this program. I'll put a link to ATG Athletic Training Group in here because they definitely made a big contribution. But the NASM OPT model is the main structure. The physical training guide is kind of the overall cardio structure. Training pyramid and volume landmarks inform the volume for the whole program, but it's really like phase three is the closest to those. Juggernaut method, phase four, maximal strength, Olympic weightlifting, phase five, power. Um, and they all kind of blend together over the course of the year from the lowest level to the highest level. And then we've got the warm-ups and cool downs at the bottom of this habit and routine workout collection. Okay, that's it for training. Let's move on to nutrition. So if you want to know exactly what you need to do for nutrition, read this nutrition program, 16-page PDF. It'll walk you through exactly how to find your goal calories and macros. Then we got some example meal plans and grocery lists in here and the research for nutrition. Once you figure out your goal calories and macros, you're going to go to the today screen. You're going to go to nutrition and you're going to edit your macros goal and you're going to put in whatever your goals are. You can track in EverFit. I don't use it yet, still in the development phase. But you can also connect Chronometer or MyFitnessPal. I use Chronometer. So you're going to go to You, Settings, App Integrations, and you can connect whichever you want to use. And then go set your goal targets for calories and macros in Chronometer or MyFitnessPal also. Um, yeah, and your goal for nutrition is to get within 10% of your goal calories and macros. Probably going to update that once a week or so, um, as you're making progress. Read about it in that on-demand thing. Ask me if you have any questions. Really, you just got to follow the rules and it'll work. So that's nutrition. Um, let's look at habits now. So habits, you can check out the program here. We got the morning routine, the pre-training routine, the post-training routine, and the evening routine. We've got the AM and PM journal, which you're going to use in your morning and evening routine. And then we've got some research in here. Um, a bunch of really good esoteric rabbit holes to learn about. And then at the bottom, we got the morning routine research, which is a really good video. So to do these routines, you're going to go into the habits and routines workout collection and on demand. And at the top row right here, you've got morning, pre, post training, evening routine. So go into morning routine, you start the workout. Here, you're just checking off that you did your body composition. It's only there because it's a step of the morning routine, and so I can put the note to have the mattress cleanse there. So if you don't need to fill out your body composition that day, you don't need to worry about that. Um, the next main section is movement. So this is when we're circulating, you're getting energy circulating through the body. So we're going to do some type of movement. We're going to do calisthenics, max reps. We're going to do walking, or we're going to do yoga or movement flow. If you need to, if you're going to substitute an exercise other than calisthenic, then you need to replace it with those three dots instead of using the drop down, which is annoying. But if you substitute an exercise with different metrics that are tracked, it won't update them. So that's just you're going to have to do it or you're going to be confused. But yeah, calisthenics, walking, movement flow, yoga, get the blood circulating. And then we're going to move on to breath and we're going to do a vortex method. So I track it in here because it's part of my morning routine, but I use the Coherence app And that's where I do all of my breath work now because this is awesome. These are the four main ones that I do. Sometimes I do this intense one. These are all options on here. But yeah, so you're gonna get the energy moving in your body and then you're gonna channel it to the goal, the vision, whatever you need to focus on. Then we're gonna do lymphatic drainage. Then we're gonna do alignment with the will of our Lord. Once we got ourselves squared away for the day, we're gonna pray, we're gonna read, and we're gonna do our morning journal. And once you finish morning routine, you can go check it off on today, did that today. And you don't have to do everything from the morning routine every day. If you do something from it, like I think the breath work is probably the most important aspect of each of the routines. But if you do anything from it, you can check it off. Maybe prayer is the most important. Probably is more true. Um, but yeah, just do one thing from the routine, check it off. You can get it all done in an hour. The morning routine and the evening routine each take about an hour tops. Or you could just do a 20-minute breath work, up to you. I think that makes the day so much better when you go through it because it's so aligned with your physiology. Before training, we're going to do this pre-training routine, the peak performance vortex, which is also in coherence right here. And then you can check off pre-training routine. Once you do training, you can check off training, and then you go to post-training routine, which is going to be hygiene, lymphatic drainage, and then a post-workout vortex, which is on here also right there. And then you can check out post-workout routine. And then the next habit up is nutrition. So I did that today, did that today, and I did that today. Now, to check off nutrition, you need to get within 10% of your goal calories and macros today. So I'll check that off once I eat my last meal. And the last thing on habits is evening routine, which is very similar to morning routine, but we don't have the check-in. It's defaulting to walking instead of calisthenics. We got CSF meditation. I've been doing the 6 waves to stillness. Maybe I'll update that in there soon. But I did the CSF meditation for a long time. It's really good. And then you got hygiene, lymphatic drainage, and alignment to finish off the day. And then you can check off evening routine, and that covers training, nutrition, habits. Let's finish off with community. This is the foundation, the brotherhood, the family. It's something that has always intimidated me to host a community, but this is what we've got going on so far. So the first post I have pinned is some instructions. It's similar to that announcement that it disappeared after the first 3 days. Then we've got a link to coaching calls. So you can just book a call here whenever during my office hours, and we can talk about training, nutrition, habits, community, making progress on the standards. And then I've got my intro post as an example and an introduction. So day one objectives, we covered everything. Last thing to do is join the community. So you're going to make an intro post on here. You're going to say what's up. You're going to tell us about your background in training, how you ended up here, and yeah, join the club. My dad is in here. He posted. He's made awesome progress. Let's check this out. That's him right there. Transformation. Killer so far. Yeah, we got 13 people in here so far, trying to get everyone to be more active. Got more people on the way. If you're from Club Optimal, what up? You get to come in here for free as part of the club. So click the link that is below this and join the app and say what's up to me, and we'll start getting after it. If not, then this is only $27 a month for the whole subscription to everything and free calls with me and the community calls once we get those going. But yeah, that's everything. We got the whole year-long program in here. You just go through it Then you test the standards, you get better. And then we'll be elite. Like, dude, people at 40 out of 100 on the standards are elite. We're going, this is the long game. Okay, let's get to work, man. I freaking love you. I hope to see you in the standards training community soon on the standards training program, training for the standards. Have a blessed day. Love you.